if there's some way we can get an immediate response from a client as soon as a process or a project is finished, whether it's by sending a text, and we have systems to help them do that, whether it's by sending an email, whether it's by, if you're in person with the client, hey, can I take a quick video of you? Not everyone's going to say yes, but the ones that do say yes are going to be some of your best testimonials.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hi, and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. It's Rick Nusky here. I'm your host, and on today's show, I'm with the wonderful Elizabeth Pampalone. How are you, Elizabeth?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, and I love your accent.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm blushing. Now, look, Elizabeth and I were just speaking offline about her 5-step system through Absolute Marketing. We're going to go through that in some detail, and we're going to be looking at how Elizabeth helps her clients. But before we do that, Elizabeth, what I do is I normally allow the guests to spend a couple of minutes of their time just to share a little bit about themselves. You know, things like where you're currently located and what you like to do when you're not serving your clients. Would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself with the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I live in sunny Florida in the U.S., and I love it here. So I live here with my husband, and we have a dog child.
A dog child, yes.
Yeah.
We have one too.
Yes, and he's a pug, so most of my time gets spent running around after him. But I do like to, we work on our house, and we spend time outside, and we have 7 bridges in my city. And so actually, I love going and walking them. So we walk across the highway type bridges that you would see that go across rivers. So I do that a lot as well. So I like to be out and active.
And this is Florida, right?
Yes, in
Fantastic.
Jacksonville, Florida. Uh-huh.
Excellent. And do you walk these bridges often?
Yeah, about 3 times a week.
Wow.
I do a 3-mile loop, and I go over two of the different bridges. Yeah.
That's a lot of kilometers, isn't it?
It's fun, yeah.
Fantastic. And are you guys coming into warmer or cooler weather at the moment? What's it like over there?
Warmer. Summer has already arrived. We've had 2 straight weeks of 90-degree weather, which is not fun in March,
No.
But it's going to be a hot summer for sure. I'm hoping the cruise ships open up so we can at least go and do that.
Well, look, that's something to look forward to. Thank you very much for sharing that. Now, I know you've been in this game for more than a decade, and I think that would obviously bring a lot of experiences that will go hand in glove with the My Future Business audience, because Elizabeth, we talk to entrepreneurs, startup entrepreneurs, and small to medium-sized business owners, and I suspect that's very much the clientele that you would serve. Tell us a little bit about the people that you work with.
I love small businesses. As one myself, I uniquely understand what they have and what they need and what they don't have, because a lot of times we find ourselves lacking in things, and that's why we reach out to other small businesses to kind of fill those gaps. So I love the community here locally, and I love the people that I've met abroad as well, because it doesn't matter what country you're in, doesn't matter the regulations, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It's all the same principles that we have to follow, whether it comes to marketing or finance or whatever. There's just these kind of underlying foundational principles that you can follow. So I just like to create things for myself that make it easy for me to run my business, and then I just want to share that with the people that I work with. And I do have a lot of small business clients, some medium businesses, but I'm really moving towards nonprofits as well, which a lot of people are seeing needs that they'd like to fill, whether they already have a business or they just want to start a nonprofit. And so I'm also catering to that community. It
seems to be a big push nowadays for those who have the knowledge and experience to actually just give back. That's a wonderful thing that you're doing now. I wonder, I like to go way back in your journey, if we can, and talk about that moment, that I guess the genesis of your business and how it actually came about for you.
That is a story I tell a lot because it is very unique, I think. I actually started building websites when I was 14, so many, many moons ago. And my parents said, well, you have to go to college. You can't just do this. So I said, fine, I'll go to college for web programming. And they said, well, we don't know if you can make as much money as you can as a nurse or something else. They tried to. And so I got one of those books they used to have, and I showed them the salaries. Like, look, I can make $40,000 a year. And they're like, all right, okay, you might do all right. And so I convinced them, and they let me go to college for that. And I came out of college. I was a software developer for a year. I hated it. I'm a people person. I'm a
Yeah,
very
yeah.
odd tech person. I don't have the tech personality. So I don't like being by myself. I don't like, obviously I love talking. You can see that. And so I wanted to do something different. And I had actually gone through, at the age of 20, I went through a divorce, which was very painful,
Hmm.
but it actually pushed me outside of that comfort zone. I was a very meek person. I was very timid. I was very friendly and I loved people, but I just had this kind of quiet side to me. And this really made me, kind of forced me out of being with people all the time, being under, like, someone's like, oh, I'm someone's wife, I'm someone's sister, I'm someone's daughter.
Yeah.
I had to be myself for the first time, in my life. And so I moved to Florida. My parents moved here. I was living with them. I was trying to figure out what I was doing with my life.
Hmm.
And I was, waiting tables, and I was overqualified for so much and underqualified for other things.
For other things, yeah.
And so I felt like such a this middle kid, like I didn't know where to fit, right? And my mom said to me, you know what, you have to figure something out. And it wasn't because they wanted me out of the house. It was because they actually just wanted me to do something where I was happy. And so I ended up, she's like, you need to pick two things you like and you need to just go do that as a job. And she said, well, where are those two things existing? And apparently there's a lot of senior centers in Florida because it's the retirement capital of the U.S. So I ended up going to the senior centers, and I started telling, say, hey, do you have a computer lab? Yes. Okay, can I teach for you? Sure. How much are you going to pay me? How about $15 an hour? Sold. And so I just
I'm
started
in.
doing that over and over and over, and it was really great.
That's excellent feedback. Thank you so much. Because I think that's important to give context, because those who don't have the experience really can't put them in a position to help others, can they? Now,
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
like to talk about the ups and downs of this journey, because this is what really brings value to the audience, Elizabeth. So I'd love to talk about some of the, I guess, the darker days, for lack of better ways to put it.
Yeah.
How was the journey in those times when it was actually not as easy as you'd hoped? And how did you get past it?
So I definitely relied on my family and the support that they gave me. And I talked to friends about it. I mean, a lot of my friends didn't even own businesses. They thought it was weird that I even started something on my own rather than just going and getting a real job.
Yeah.
And it did get very lonely at times. But I really knew that when I was with a client and I had worked with them and I was, interfacing with them and helping them solve problems and all that kind of stuff, it really did give me this sense of like, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm meant to do. This is where, I'm happiest, that kind of thing. So it was definitely something that I kind of had this drive within, to do these things on my own. And I really feel like you have to be a special kind of person to own a business, that you have to have this fire within you that
Yeah.
doesn't stop and it doesn't die. And even when you feel the most discouraged, you'll go to bed, you'll just sleep on it, and the next day you'll get up and go, I get to do what I love today. Even if, the coronavirus hits your business and you have no work and you have no idea where the money is coming from, you kind of get in gear. You kind of feel like, hey, I have to figure something out because no one's going to figure it out for me. So I feel like in those times, I mean, I've had many times like that in my life. I've been through the recession here in the U.S. and,
Hmm.
I started my business right at the peak of that, right at the beginning of that kind of downfall.
You
And
did.
so it was very, like a lot of perseverance was learned.
A resilience in personality.
Yes,
I guess
yes,
it's good for the soul and character building. Thank you so much for sharing. Now,
yeah,
I know that you're an extrovert. So, what about
yes.
introverts? How do you think they go? Because I also know that you're a master networker. Do you think that those who are introverted should also be forcing themselves to get out from behind the laptop or the computer, as it were, to mix and mingle?
Well, in this current climate, we don't have the option, which is actually a good thing for introverts because they can kind of be half in their comfort zone and half out of their comfort zone. So
Yes.
when you wouldn't normally turn that video on in a Zoom call or a conference call like that, turn that video on,
Do
make
it.
that eye contact,
Yep. Yep.
But I do actually, when I teach when I teach at Meaningful Networking, I go through a session and I talk about how it doesn't matter who you are or what type of personality you have, you are a master networker. And sometimes introverts are some of the best networkers because they listen.
Yes.
they
Yes.
don't talk the whole time like I do. I have the tendency to do. And so they can ask a single question, let those introverts just take the conversation, and then come back with another question, and off the extroverts go, So then I tell people to, don't sit by yourself. Like, stand by the food table. Everyone goes to the food table. Go over there and stand there, and you will get approached by the extroverts who want to talk to people.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do all of the work. Another person to talk to is the check-in people. They're sitting at that table. They're kind of just twiddling their thumbs in between people coming up. You get a little reprieve when someone does come up, and you can kind of stop the conversation and have a breather, and then get back to the conversation with them, and they get interaction as well. So there's just some little things like that, introverts and extroverts, I really don't feel like it matters, which side
Too
you
much.
fall on.
Yeah.
There's always something you can do.
Now, I'd like to, I guess, switch gears a little bit and start talking about your ideas as it applies to visionaries. What does the term mean for you, and how do you best bring out the best in those that you're working with to meet that vision that they have?
I believe that everybody has a cause or a reason for creating their business, their nonprofit, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And those people, sometimes it's just in their head, and they don't know how to get it out into the real world.
Yeah.
And so I'm one of those businesses that comes alongside and says, I can take what's in your head and make it real. Or make people care about it so that it can be real. And, then there's people who can start things, but then they can't see them through to the end. They're not finishers, they're starters.
Yeah.
And so I also come alongside, me and my team come alongside those people as well. It could be a business, it could be a nonprofit, doesn't matter. But visionaries also have the ability to adapt and pivot, kind of like that Friends episode where they have the couch and he's like, pivot, and that thing, I hear that in my head all the time, pivot, because especially now, I mean, in my career, I've had to pivot several times, and I've gone into different parts of the industry that I'm in, and I've had to kind of innovate and make revolutionary changes, and then everyone falls on the bandwagon, and then I pivot and I do something else, and everybody falls on the bandwagon. So I've seen that happen several times, and I'm actually in a time of pivoting myself before all this happened, and I'm just keep going with that. But yeah, visionaries have this ability to kind of, like you said, that resilience of personality, resilience of character, that it's going to just, okay, I fell off the horse. Time to get back up and dust myself off and either get back on this horse or find another one to get on.
Yeah, you seem to me to be not only somebody who has the skills to, lead, but also somebody who's there to be that, I guess, that soft place to fall and that accountability partner, just that soft nudge. Hey, listen, we're falling off the tracks a little bit. And I'd like to talk a little bit more in depth about that, Elizabeth, when you talk about your absolute marketing. Can we break down what absolute marketing is?
Yes, I love it. It's my baby that I developed last year. I had been working in the industry, since 2007 with my business and doing computer repair, and I was doing some web design on the side. And then I ended up switching my entire business around so that I wasn't doing the computer repair anymore. I was just doing the web design. And the typical way that everyone does web design is 30 days to 3 months. So 30 to 90 days, you design a website. It takes about that long because of so much back and forth. And I would have a 30-day website contract, and my clients would come to me, and they would be so excited to get started, and then nothing. Crickets for 3 weeks. And then on day 29 of 30 of our contract, because my contracts ended on day 31, then they would flood my inbox with that I had been asking and begging for 3 weeks. I felt like I was there, like nagging them, like, please send me, please. And they would send it all to me on day 29 of 30, and I felt obligated as the business owner to make all this happen for them, just as if we had 4 whole weeks to do it. And so I would stay up, do a 24-hour stint, and just create everything. And I would call them and say, okay, go look at it. Okay, I'll change that. And then I'll go to the website, type it all in. Okay, go look at it. And so I thought, there's got to be a better way, because for 30 days I would be stressed, and it actually affected my health very deeply. And so I decided not doing this anymore. So 3 years ago, I changed to what I called a website in a day. And I would sit with someone for 8 hours. I would tell them, you give me your bio, I'm going to build your about page. You give me your services, I'm going to build your services page. And so we would sit there and just kind of sandwich it back and forth, back and forth. I would show it to them, turn my computer around. What do you think of this? And they would say, okay, it looks great. And then I would fix it,
Yep.
and it was just so easy. And they were like, wow, I did all that in a day. And I'm like, yeah, we did that in a day. Aren't you surprised? Because everyone else was taking so long, and it was because of the back and forth. And there was no immediacy of, got to get this done. It was like, well, we got 30 days. We can just,
Urgency.
Yeah. And so I also learned about Parkinson's law, which is if a task is given a certain amount of time, it will take that amount of time.
Yes.
And so I was like, we got 8 hours. We got to build a website. Not, we got 30 days. We got to build a website. So whatever time you give it is whatever time it's going to take. And so I started doing that 3 years ago. Then I started realizing I can do more than this in 8 hours. I can do an 8-hour stint. We can do 12 months of social media. We can do 12 months of blogging in 8 hours. We can do 12 months of email marketing in 8 hours. And I started putting all these pieces out there saying, what do you need? Do you need a brand? We can do that in 8 hours. And I came up with the name of Absolute Marketing because I feel like it's the absolute minimum. Like, if you're going to own a business, you need 5 things. And those 5 pieces are a solid brand with a branding suite. You need a good website that's functional and that's converting. You need a social media campaigns that are going to be going out for you every single day where you don't have to touch it for like 6 to 12 months. You need 12 months of blogs that are going to do the same thing, email out by themselves, go out by themselves, all the graphics done. And then you need 12 months of email campaigns that are separate from the blogs, that are about products, about services, about seasonal stuff. Maybe it's Mother's Day is coming up and you have something to, to do with that holiday, etc. And so those 5 pieces were the foundation of what I believe each business needs to just have a solid foundation of marketing. You can do ads, you can do, retargeting, you can do webinars, you can do all these other things that have to do with marketing. But those pieces are consistently a solid foundation.
Yeah, always there.
And like the bare minute, like I would call bare minute, the absolute, right?
Yep.
And so that's why I came up with the 5-day system. So I'll work with someone for an entire week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we will just do every single day together, 8 hours, and we just knock out one thing a day. By the end, we're both exhausted, but everything is done for almost an entire year.
I can imagine the rewarding feeling after, seeing a smile on a client's face or receiving a positive email back from them. It's a wonderful approach how you're compartmentalizing this, breaking it down into bite-sized chunks, because guess what? There's an elephant in the room here, and often people go, you know what, this is too mammoth a task for me. Do you get that sort of reaction initially, and how do you, break it down? Is there systems in place? How does this all work for Absolute Marketing?
So a lot of people do tell me, I don't think I could do this. It's too much. And I have done this so many times. A lot of people don't think it's possible. That's usually their initial reaction is, I don't see how that's even possible. My last website took a year and it's still not done, that kind of thing. And I actually have an entire web page in my website devoted to client testimonials. And it's all videos. It's about 20 to 30 videos of real clients immediately following their final day of working with me, whether it was 1 day working with me, 5 days working with me, 3 days working with me. It doesn't matter. At the end of the days that we've worked together, no makeup, hair messed, like they look like they're exhausted. Right, they're exhausted. And I say, can I please take a video of you? And some of them are like, oh,
no.
I can't. I'm like, please, this is raw. This is real life. And those videos have gotten me more business because I could tell you all day long, it's possible, we can do this. I do it all the time. But until someone else who's real says, yeah, I didn't think this was going to work, but I have a website and we're done, and they just have this joy on their face.
Yep.
That is what makes people go, okay, well, if she can do it, I can do it.
That's wonderful. I do love testimonials because they're rich and raw, but a lot of times they're abused, aren't they? So do you get that as part of your process, and is this something that you embed for your clients as a standard part of the Absolute Marketing system for them?
Yeah, so a lot of times the clients already have some of those systems in place, and I do encourage them they say, well, your video was so compelling and that's why I booked with you. How do I do that for myself? And so I try to help them. These days aren't just us sitting there working on all the technical stuff. I'm coaching through this. We're working side by side, one-on-one for, 5 days in some cases. We're getting to know each other really well. We become friends. We know more about each other than we probably should. And we have lunch together every day. So all the things that go along with that. But I try to encourage them to find a way to insert something like this in their system. So for me, at the end of our time, I always make sure that I get a video, because I want that to share with other people their experience. And so whatever their business is, whatever their process is, if there's some way we can get an immediate response from a client as soon as a process or a project is finished, whether it's by sending a text, and we have systems to help them do that, whether it's by sending an email, whether it's by, if you're in person with the client, hey, can I take a quick video of you? Not everyone's going to say yes, but the ones that do say yes are going to be some of your best testimonials. So there's different things we can put in place for that. And so I just try to find what's going to work best for the client's current process. And if they don't have a current process, or their process is a little messy, we try that first, and then we add in that piece.
Fantastic. Now, I like to just, if we can, deep dive a little bit into the different pages as a minimum that you would have as a business owner. What do we have? We have a home page, an about page, products and services, contact page. What else might there be?
I love to have a booking page. So if you're familiar with Calendly, Acuity, there's BookMe, you can bookme.com. There's a lot of booking software, sometimes free, but Calendly is free for one system. So I try to encourage people to always have some kind of booking software. A lot of times people will say to me, well, that won't work for me, or that doesn't work for my business. But really it does, because all we're wanting people to do is book a call with you. I know that for me and a lot of my clients, if I can book a call with you, I'm more likely to be able to sell you if you were sellable. Sometimes you're not sellable. Sometimes the person who's contacting you you have to convince them, that they want to work with you, rather than persuade them that you're the best choice. So, but if you get on that call, you can hear that. You can discern that immediately. And then you know where that lead is going, whether it's a great lead and you keep pursuing it, or if it's a lead that's lukewarm and you can kind of move on from that. So getting on a call is so much different than getting an email where you can't hear that voice inflection, or even getting on a Zoom call. I do 15-minute phone calls because I've gotten really good at being able to discern just from that pulse. 15 minutes. Yeah, exactly. So if you're doing Zoom calls, you can see the body language, you can hear their voice. But if you're doing audio calls, you can, same things apply. So I just try to recommend that people at least have that option, because a lot of times, and if you've ever been on the internet, at midnight,
just a little bit.
while you're waiting for the clothes to wash, or while you're waiting for something to happen, something to be done, or a timer to go off, or something like that. It's sometimes at the most inconvenient times where I might be halfway around the world sleeping. I'm not going to respond to you right away. So this way you can book a call with me, and we can actually have a set time where we both are ready to have that interaction. And we're both prepared for it, thinking about it. And that just gives you a better sales option when you're doing those kinds of calls, and knowing what to move forward with and what to kind of, leave alone for another day.
This ideology of, prior planning prevents poor performance comes up, and this is all about having those systems in place. Now, with systems, you could spend, I suspect, endless money on creating things. You could go one way or the other. You could go freemium or premium. Do you recommend, I don't know, we just talked about booking software. Are there free options as opposed to premium options, and what do you suggest from the get-go for your clients?
I always suggest the free option first, and I like premium options. I guess those are the ones that go up to premium, right?
Yep. Start for free and go up to paid.
That's right. So I like things like Calendly because it's simple to use, it's easy to set up, and you can upgrade when you need to. Because once you get to that point of needing to upgrade, you're going to want to pay for it. You're going to say, $10, no problem. I'm good. Yep. Right. It's worth it to you. It's going to make your life easier to go for it. And that's what we need to remember, is that our businesses, they cost money. They're living entities. They need to be fed and cared for. And so we need to not worry so much about, I'm spending money on this and money on that, but we need to make sure we're spending money on the right things. And so something that's going to make my life easier, like a booking software, I'll try it for free at first, and then once I need to upgrade, I'm like, yes, I'm in it. Let's do this. I need to upgrade. I also use freemium for email marketing softwares. I use MailerLite, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
I use freemium for my podcasting software, Elite2 and Podbean. So there's a couple of ones that I put on my website. There's a tools page I have at the bottom of my site, and it has all the freemium and not freemium stuff that I use, because there's some things like I use Affinity instead of Photoshop,
Oh, yes,
and I
yes.
love Affinity, but it's $49. You have to pay the $49, and that's it.
Yep.
Instead of paying $9 a month all the time. So I like that about them, is that it's like a one-time fee, but I do know that I need it as a graphic designer, and so I do elect to pay that $49 one-time fee and work with them rather than paying a $10 fee or a $20 fee every single month for an Adobe product. So just things like that, you can always find a little bit of a workaround, but I do recommend that if you've got a software that you're like, but this one works really well, like Basecamp, which is so expensive, but it works really well, then it's worth it to pay for it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this wonderful feedback. I'm getting a lot of value out of the call. I want to go back now and talk about the relationships, because you have a period of time where you're initially working with someone, but then you will deliver the outcome, the end result, frankly. Do you have an ongoing relationship that helps your customers further improve their websites? Is there a sort of service component to your business?
Yes, there is. I do what's called monthly maintenance, and I'll give you a sneak peek. In May of this year of 2020, we'll be rolling out a new system, which I'm very excited about.
Fantastic.
But the main thing I do is monthly maintenance, and basically that's a retainer that's paid by the client, and every month if they need something, they just shoot off a ticket to us. We have a ticket system, and my team and I will take care of it. So if they need, hey, we have these blog posts we want put on our site, we need to change our phone number, we want to put up our COVID-19 information, our new hours. I've had a lot of that the last couple of weeks.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and so anything like that, announcements, closures, different hours, anything that they need to be changed. We have new photos, we have new, we're doing online ordering now, we need to add that component. So those things are kind of covered under this maintenance plan. And, it's just a couple of hours every month. I mean, they get a retainer for 2 hours a month, and then they can use it for whatever they want, whatever they need. Sometimes they use a lot of it, sometimes they use a little of it. And if, I'm generous, I don't make, it's not like, okay, it's been 2 hours, time to turn off the clock.
Hard and fast. Yeah, it's not hard and
right.
fast.
So if they haven't used, much for many months, I'll say, okay, well, if you need a third hour, I'll help you out, kind of thing.
Yep.
But the new one that we're rolling out in May, which I'm very excited about, is going to be part of our new brand called Beyond the Cause. And we're going to be actually doing things based off of a percentage of revenue.
Oh.
Some clients won't necessarily like this very much. It won't be for them. But some of these smaller companies who don't have a ton of revenue, we're going to be basing our pricing off of their gross revenue, so that they can actually get what they need, and will be very almost an unlimited amount of time for most of these companies. They won't ever run out of the time.
Yep.
But it will be a much smaller amount than they would have paid to an agency who would take care of those same things. So we're doing it a little differently, and this is what I mentioned before about that innovating thing. I innovated in the web design space when I said, okay, 1 day projects, in and out, done, one and done, we're done, right?
Yep.
But then everyone you'll probably start seeing those pop up more and more on Facebook groups and things like, oh, I'll do things for you in a day, and I'll help you in a day. And so then I started realizing that I needed to pivot again. And so this is our next pivot, is to really focus on nonprofits first, small businesses second. Even though small businesses will be very much a part of the community that I serve, I want to offer this different way of pricing things, because I know how hard it is as a small business to go, you want how much a month? But
yes.
okay, I can pay you 4% a month. That seems reasonable. So that kind of thing is going to help a lot of people, I think, especially the nonprofits and then the other small businesses as well.
I love it, because the thing that came to mind is that rolling stone gathers no moss, and you're pivoting, and you're being innovative, and it's very helpful. I wonder if I can ask about curation. Is there do you have curation in your business, and do you have auto curation from software that you might use? Do you do manual research? How does that part of your business work?
So I actually use a system for my social media specifically, and I use something called Social Pilot that has an actual curated set of articles for me, which is fun. But as far as like other research that we do, I have some copywriters that are on our team that are fantastic at manual research. So I use them a lot. And as far as, researching our new and next pivots, next things we're doing, I really go back to my clients, because when I was working with the clients, when I first started doing the in-a-day sessions, I literally said, I'm going to try this for a month and see what happens. The next 3, 4, 5 clients that I come to my door, come across my space, I'm going to say, this is the flat rate price. This is what I'm going to do for you. It's going to take one day. When do you want to book it? And I kind of just went for it, to see what would happen. I had other clients that were already in the pipeline who had already decided on a 30-day site. We'd already talked about it. I wasn't going to move that around. But these new people that were coming in with no preconceived knowledge of this, I just like, hey, this is what we're doing. Take it or leave it. And they took it.
And
that's when I started to kind of say, okay, how was that for you? What didn't work? What worked? One of the clients, the first time I did it, we didn't do lunch. I was like, oh yeah, we have to eat.
The amount of times that we've worked through as business owners and not even thought about ourselves is probably a long list. You could write them months and months on end. So thank you very much for sharing that. Now, I think what's important now is to actually take people who are on the call today through, I guess, a bit of a mind journey of the process that they will expect to go through when they come and find you.
Okay, yeah. So this is something that a lot of people don't believe me when I tell them this, but when someone books a call with me and they say, yeah, this is something I want to do. I want to do my stuff in a day. I might need 2 days, 4 days, 5 days, whatever that number is, right? The first thing I tell them is, you're going to get 3 emails from me. 2 of them are important. 1 of them is not. And the one that is not is actually the checklist of things I want them to bring.
Right.
This list is not long, about 20 items. And this list, though, I actually tell them, I want you to look at it, and I don't want you to stress about it. And they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I have all this stuff.
I'm stressing out already.
Right. And I say, that's the point. I want you to be aware that these things are coming. But if you don't have a bio, we're going to write it. If you don't have your services all the way set, you don't have your pricing all the way set, we're going to write it. I'm going to help you. So I've even had people come with no name. Like they don't even have the name of their business yet. And we do that on a branding day. They come with, well, I had this logo, but I don't like it. Okay, well, we're going to fix that on your branding day. Well, I don't have a business card, or I had a business card from, Vistaprint or something. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to fix that. So I give them a list for those who want to be prepared. There's people that are like, I have to do something. I'm going to break out in hives if I don't bring you something, right? So I give them the list for that reason. I also give them the list for them to start thinking, because we don't think enough as entrepreneurs.
No.
People starting businesses, we just go and we do. We don't sit and think about these things. So I'm like, I want you to mull over this list. If you think, oh, I do have a bio, let me go and find that. Go find it. Make yourself feel like, yeah, I accomplished something. But don't stress about it. And they say, well, what should I bring? What should I prepare? And I'm like, nothing. If you got stuff on this list, bring it. If you don't, leave it. Don't touch it.
That's okay.
And that does really give people a sense of more anxiety, I think, sometimes. But I want them to realize that this process doesn't have to be as daunting as they think it is. And I'm wanting to give them that permission to say, our project is next week. Take the week off. You're good. We've got this. We're done for now. We don't do anything until next week. So that's kind of the process I take them through when we start everything up.
That's wonderful. And there's no doubt in my mind that when you touch base with Elizabeth, there will be a number of links on her website. And on that, Elizabeth, when people want to work with you, where are they going to find you?
It is elizabethpampalone.com. So pretty easy, my name. And if you Google me, Google has given me a whole page of things, of podcasts and articles and all kinds of stuff.
So look, for everybody who's on the show today, this has been a wonderful call. We are just really at the tip of the iceberg as to what Elizabeth and her wonderful team are doing for her clients. So make sure that you click the link below this post or wherever you happen to find it. And Elizabeth, in closing, thank you so very much for spending some time with me on the My Future Business Show today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a very, very great pleasure.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, Then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.